This is a Caprino studio production, and I'm your host, Arun Sridhar. On behalf of all of us in the production team, I want to welcome you to another episode of our immersive production. So please wear your headphones or use an appropriate sound device to listen to the podcast. It is only right that you get to hear the episode in the way we intended it to be. Let's start then, shall we? For the current younger generation in their 20s, what I'm going to say next may seem like a weird factoid, but I'm going to say it anyway. India for long had often been stereotyped as a land filled with snake charmers, magicians, rope tricks, and sadhus levitating in the air. Among Westerners, the perception is that the country is a mystical land where miracles are commonplace. That may have changed over time, but was still the way many Westerners looked at India till as recently as the mid-2000s, in my personal experience. So when I first heard the story that I'm going to narrate today, I was left wondering how far back does India's association with magic really go? From Caprino Studio, this is A Road Less Traveled, a podcast that seeks to dig deep into our collective archives to take you on a journey to show you how stories about India, Indians, and foreigners that are relatively unknown and underappreciated have changed and impacted our lives, society, and culture. Come along with us as we seek to hold your hands and travel through this amazing journey, paired with our own brand of unique storytelling, thoughtful music, and sound design to inspire, engage, and entertain you. If we have crossed paths before, a warm welcome back to you. For those who are new, there is only one way to get to know us and the stories. Get stuck right in and join us as we sail through this adventure together. Let's get started, shall we? I'm your host, Arun Sridhar. So where were we? Yes, magic. Some will claim magic is as old as time, existing as it did as early as the Mohenjo-daro civilization. If we are about to trust 10th century Chinese history, then I quote, all the arts of illusion came from the western regions, especially India, unquote. According to Megasthenes, Alexander the Great was greatly impressed by ascetics who could hold a heavy weight motionlessly on one leg for many hours. After Alexander's wedding to the daughter of the Persian king Darius, Indian jugglers entertained guests for 5 days. It is also well documented how Mughal Emperor Jahangir was amused by the performance of 7 Bengali magicians. Eventually, it became the norm for Maharajas and Mughal emperors to keep conjurers at their courts. A generation of Western illusionists were inspired by touring Indian magicians in the early 19th century who mesmerized audiences abroad. And during the 1930s, a Kashmiri named Kuda Bucks staged the first firewalk in England, creating a media storm. As evident, magic has a long and varied history. This brings us to today's protagonist, Gogia Pasha, where story begs to be explored inch by inch. Perhaps, today, the sight of a turban-wearing magician performing in a local auditorium may draw a casual remark from us. But back in the day, a sight like this was rare. In terms of cultural significance, a PC Sorcar or a Gogia Pasha performance was like a depth charge explosion. Now, Pasha wasn't certainly a slouch or a one-hit wonder. As a result of the efforts made by people like Pasha, Indian magic was liberated from its occult black magic roots as the Westerners had thought of once. These few good men lifted magic to the status of art and popular entertainment. Most magicians around the world have become famous by pretending to be from a faraway land. It lends that much-sought exotic flair to the persona. For most of his career, Gogia Pasha fooled the world and his fellow magicians by pretending to be an Egyptian. He was born Dhanpat Rai Gogia in 1910 in the Multan district of present-day Pakistan and moved to Dehradun after partition. A qualified doctor, Pasha was a son of a Minakari jeweler whose business problems left the family in debt. After watching a performance by British magician-inventor Owen Clarke in Blackpool, a young Dhanpat decided to quit medicine and become Clarke's apprentice. Known as only one of his kind who designed and manufactured his own tricks, Owen Clarke passed away in 1929 at a young age of 53, leaving behind his equipment to his young Indian apprentice. Gogia decided to undergo a complete makeover. To make a mark, he needed to have a personal style that would turn quite a few heads. And so, he grew a menacing goatee, brought in a mischievous glint in his eyes, donned a turban and robe. Next, he added the Turkish word Pasha, meaning chieftain, to his name to sound a tad bit more exotic. And voila, the transformation was complete. He soon became known as the Gilly Gilly Man, after the chant with which he usually started his show. His shows were a beautiful concoction of comedy and humor alongside tricks. Sometimes he threw in acrobatics as well as tap dancing into his magic tricks. Among his signature acts were cups and balls, the production of live chickens from his mouth, and a levitation feat. Other than pursuing a conjurer's career, he also worked as an air raid precautions warden in London and other parts of England and Scotland, where he had to try and protect people when enemy planes dropped bombs. Additionally, he gave concerts to troops in France as part of charitable entertainment. In the 1930s, he toured extensively throughout Asia, Australia, and Europe. It was in the latter half of this decade that he met the Führer of Germany, Adolf Hitler. And Führer's Germany surprisingly had a few surprises up its sleeves as well. Between 1933 and 1945, the Nazi Germany government controlled virtually every aspect of German life. However, you might be surprised to know that in contrast to the treatment meted out to the communists, Jews, and gypsies, Nazi officials did not arrest, detain, or kill occultists during the war's first 4 years. The Nazis, it seemed, were obsessed with magic. There was a surprising amount of tolerance shown by the regime for occult ideas and doctrines used in its policies and propaganda. Hitler's right-hand man, Heinrich Himmler, frequently consulted occultist Karl Maria Willigut on a variety of issues. Hitler was no stranger to magic shows either. Helmut Ewald Schreiber, who went by the exotic name of Kala Nag, was Führer's blue-eyed magician. After the war, this court magician of the Nazis started an international career as a magician, hiding his Nazi past. Thankfully, Hitler's encounter with Pasha was a light-hearted yet dramatic one, at least from what we know. In 1937, Pasha arrived in Germany and was invited to appear before Hitler in a Munich beer garden. Among the audience was another high-ranked official, Hermann Göring. Göring was Hitler's designated successor as the leader of Nazi Germany in the event of latter's death or indisposition. Among all the tricks that Pasha performed that day, the man with $100 million was the one that particularly impressed Hitler. Hitler was so amused by this act, where thousands of coins appeared out of thin air, that he joked that Pasha would be useful in the German mint. In response, Pasha said that he had met the mint's governor and he did not think there would be a need for another. In the highly competitive world of big star magic, Pasha perhaps fell short of his celebrated contemporary PC Sorcar in terms of his marketing and publicity strategies. Even before he had traveled outside India, Sorcar called himself the world's greatest magician. It wasn't long before Pasha was calling himself the world-renowned Egyptian master of magic and the greatest entertainer in the world. In 1953, he was elected president of the Indian Magicians Club. But one place where Pasha scored over Sorcar was in films. He appeared in features such as Tamil action thriller Minnal Kodi and Bollywood films like Dilruba, Dur Ki Awaaz, Ek Thi Ladki, etc. 13 years after his death, Amitabh Bachchan character in the fantasy comedy film Jadugar was named Goga in his honor. How do we know this? Senior Bachchan himself mentioned this on Twitter while reacting to one of his followers. Not only that, fans of Shahrukh Khan might recall the superstar's brief appearance in the film Tube Light as a traveling magician called Gogo Pasha. Pasha continued performing until his death in 1976. In Dehradun, his hometown, he was also known for preparing delicious meals for his visitors. Noted writer Ruskin Bond recalls how he would visit Pasha's Dehradun casino during New Year and Christmas, where his magic shows were part of the festivities. In his hometown, Pasha provided magic virtually free of charge to most schools. Can I tell you another interesting story? Despite performing for Hitler, Pasha attended the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II on a diplomatic passport and also enthralled the Beatles. Towards his later years, there was a report in the papers about him seeking a successor. But Pasha was probably the first and the last magician in his family. One of Pasha's descendants is his grandson, Monish Pabrai, who resides in Texas and is a hedge fund manager and an investor. Like all great men who are masters of their craft, Pasha probably had in him the same trait that is a key to success, that is, faith in himself and his convictions. By simply espousing the idea to believe in one's dreams and convincing others to take a leap of faith, Pasha and his audience escaped to a world where anything was possible, time and time again. You've just listened to a Caprino studio production. Our stories were written and edited with the valuable help of Banshori Bhattacharya. The impeccable compositions that you listened to were performed by Dr.ShivaShankar, and the sound design was done by myself and our wonderful sound engineer, Mr. Swaminathan ThiruGnanaSambandam. Look up our show notes and don't forget to follow us on Instagram and ensure you get all the updates on our WhatsApp channel. We will see you soon with more stories. Until then, stay well.